We continue now at the top of Daf Tzadi Beis Amid Beis in Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 92b. This daf is sponsored by David Grossman. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you'd like to sponsor an Amar Daf, see the description box below, and see the description box below to see how you can support this channel. On the previous Amar, there was a machlokas amoraim between Rav and Shmuel. If a person buys an ox and it turns out to be a goring ox, now the buyer is claiming that he bought it in order to plow with. He's not able to plow with the ox anymore because it's a goring ox. So Rav says it's a mekachtos, it's a mistaken purchase, and we can reverse the sale. And Shmuel says that's not true. The seller is able to say, I sold it to you for the meat, and therefore the sale does not reverse. And the Gemara now is continuing to clarify the nature of the machlokas. The Gemara says, what exactly is the case? If the seller has no money anyhow, let's say the seller already spent all of the money that he got from the buyer, he has no money to give to the buyer. So then anyway, liakev tura bezuze. So then the buyer should just keep the money as payment. Essentially, the seller owes him money. The seller doesn't have any money, so the seller will pay with something else, meaning he'll pay with this very same ox, which we've already established is worth the same amount of money anyhow, because we're talking about a situation where the price of meat has gone up, and so therefore he'll just keep the ox anyway as payment from the seller. The Amri, and because people say, min mari rishvasach pare ifra, even if the person who owes you money is giving you bran, that's what you should collect from the person. And so the Gemara says, lo no tzricha, it's necessary, meaning the machlokas between Rav and Shmuel is necessary in the following scenario, that it is possible to collect money from the seller. We know that the seller does have money, and that's the machlokas. Rav Amar Hareza Mekachtos. Rav says this is a mistaken purchase, and therefore you can give back the ox and get back the money. Why? Because Basa Ruba Azlinan. Because Rav holds we follow majority. Veruba Liridya Zavni. And most people, when they buy an ox, they're buying it for plowing. We can assume that was the understanding in terms of this sale, and therefore the buyer is entitled to reverse the sale. Shmuel Amar Lach, but Shmuel says to you, no. Ki Azlinan Basa Ruba. When do we follow majority Be'isur? That's only in situations of Isur. That's in situations that involve prohibitions. But B'mamona lo, when we talk about monetary cases, we do not follow Rov. Essentially, in cases of money, we say Hamotzi Mechaveru, all of a raya. If someone's trying to take money from someone else, he has to bring evidence against that person. Absent evidence, we will not follow Rov according to Shmuel. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Meisve, we have a question from the following Mishnah Meseches Ksubis. Ha'isha shenis almana onis garsha. Let's say you have a woman, she's widowed or she's divorced. V'hi omeres besula nisesi. And she says, when I got married, I was a besula, I was a virgin, meaning to say, I'm entitled to 200 zuz from my ksuba, because that's what a besula is entitled to. V'hu omer, but he says, meaning the husband says, lo, no, ki ela almana nisisech. I actually married you when you were a widow, you were an almana, so you're only entitled to 100 zuz, you're not entitled to 200 zuz. And so the Mishnah says, if there are witnesses that at the time of her wedding, she was wearing a veil, verosha parua, and her hair was loose, so those are all signs that she was a besula, she's entitled to 200. So if you have those witnesses, ksubasa masayim, so then her ksuba is going to be 200 zuz. And so the Gemara says, Taima de'ika edem. Now the reason over here why she's entitled to the 200 zuz is because there are witnesses on her side. Haleka edem, but if there would not be witnesses on her side, lo, so then no, we would say she's not entitled to collect 200. She'd only collect 100. And so the Gemara says, V'amai, but why should that be the case? According to the one who says that we follow Rov, which is Rav, Rav says even by monetary cases we follow Rov, so Lema, we should say, Halach acha Rov hanashim. According to Rav, we should say that we follow the majority of women. For Rov nashim, besulos nisos, and most women, they get married as besulos, and so therefore we should say she's entitled to 200, and essentially this mission is a question against Rav's position. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ravina says, Mishum di'ikol ameimar, the reason why we don't follow Rov in this case, according to Rav, even though in most cases we would follow Rov, is because it's possible to say as follows. Rov nashim besulos nisos. The majority of women, they do get married as besulos. Umiyot almanos, and there's a minority of women who get married as widows, they get married as almanos. However, v'chol hanisas besula, but anyone who does get married as a besula, yesh la kol, so the word goes out, everybody knows that that is the case. And vizu, and in this particular case with this particular woman, hoel ve'ein la kol, since there is no kol, so isra la ruba, so that actually ruins the rov, and therefore normally we would follow a majority, but over here, because of the fact that we don't have a kol, that ruins the majority, and that's why we don't follow majority in this particular case. But the Gemara continues, but if every single woman who marries as a basula, there's a kol, so then ki ika edem might have it. So even if there are witnesses, what's the difference? Midales la kol, from the fact that there's no kol kol in this case, sahadi shakri ninu, doesn't that prove that these witnesses are liars? You're saying that every single woman who gets married as a basula has a kol, and here there's no kol. That should be 100% evidence that she didn't get married as a basula. And so the Gemara says, Ella, rather, rov hanisos, what we'll say is not that all women that get married have a kol if they marry as a basula, but the majority of women that get married as basulos, and the majority of women that get married as basulos, yesh lahen kol, there is a kol. Vizu, and in this case, hoel ve'ein la kol, since there is no kol, so Israel aruba, so the majority is ruined, meaning what the Gemara is essentially saying is, it's not absolute, it's not 100% that since there's no kol, we know she didn't get married as a basula, but it's likely, in most situations there's a kol, in this situation there is no kol, and so therefore you don't really have a rov on her side because of the fact that there is no kol. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come in here a proof from the following brisa. Hamocher eved l'chaveru, one who sells a slave to his friend, v'nimtza ganav o kabyustus. It turns out that the slave is a ganav, is a thief, or he's a kabyustus, is a machlokas. What exactly kabyustus is? It might be a gambler, it might be a kidnapper, but in any case, the brisa says higio. The brisa says that is considered to be a good sale. However, listim mizuyan, if it turns out that the slave is listim mizuyan, is an armed robber, or muchtav l'malchus, or if he's written over to the government, meaning the government is going to give him the death penalty, so there already it's not a good sale. Omer lo, there the buyer can say to the seller, Hareshal chalafanecha, take back what is yours, we are reversing the sale in this case. And the Gemara says, Reish, at the beginning of the brisa, what exactly is it talking about? And we will continue with this discussion in the next video, on Daf Tzadi Gimel Amid Aleph.